So I'm at St. Luke's Church, a historic church out here in Smithfield, Virginia, and I am doing a self-guided tour. So I have little spots on the way to the church that'll give us some historical points and history about the church. So let's start this tour, man. So here's the introduction. I had to download this on my phone. This is one, so I'm listening to it. There's the church.
Welcome to St. Luke's Historic Church and Museum, a museum of Virginia's oldest church building. I'm John Erickson, the executive director here at St. Luke's. St. Luke's, originally known as the Brick Church and later the Old Brick Church, was a part of the established Church of England, the Christian tradition that was created during the reign of King Henry VIII. In 1534, King Henry made himself the head of the Church of England with the Act of Supremacy, separating the English Church from the Roman Catholic Church.
That's the Welcome Center right here.
The Old Brick Church was part of the Lower Parish that was later named Newport Parish. The Virginia colony was divided into these parishes that were governmental agencies
I want to look at this
with
one.
the power to tax and to prosecute in the courts. The highest tax a Virginia colonist paid. The name St. Luke's was not attributed to this site until the 1820s. The first use of the name appears in 1828 from a deacon named W.G.H. Jones. The statue was commissioned through the charitable donation of the Alice B. Glasheen Charitable Trust in 2002. The sculptor was Robert Cunningham, a native of Maine who lives in California. St. Luke is considered the patron saint of artists and is depicted as painting a portrait of the Virgin Mary and the Christ child. The dog at St. Luke's side represents that St. Luke's was also the patron saint of pet owners.
That's dope. I really like that statue. That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All right. Continue on the walk. So the tour guide, Brendan, he's actually over at the church right now. He went ahead, and everyone here is really, really nice. He did say that I'm allowed to take pictures and do videography, so that makes me happy. I feel like I'm going into like a dungeon or something. That's gorgeous. Oh, I'm so excited to get inside. Wow. Should I go this way? That's not open. Probably have to go on the side.
Alright, so welcome. This is Historic St. Luke's Church and Museum. We're here in Smithfield, or Isle of Wight County, Virginia. We were established in 1685. We took roughly about a 3-year process in order for churches like this to be built.
Wow.
Building probably started construction in 1682, finished roughly around 1685. We have a 1685 date because of a lead glass plane.
Wow.
So in our gift shop, we actually, well, not currently, we had a little bit of an accident, and so that
Okay.
artifact's not there, but
Okay.
typically we have that artifact on display, so
Okay.
you can see that 1685 date, and that 1685 date is what is our best guess as to when this building was created.
Wow. So with this is not a functioning church, right?
Currently, no. So
Okay.
we have not been a functioning church since 1830. So
Wow.
so from 1685 until 1830, it was an active church.
Okay.
In the 1830s, the congregation here moved to downtown Smithfield.
Okay.
So Christ Church Episcopal, they're still there today.
Got
That
you.
same congregation is the congregation that emerged out of this building.
Got you.
Essentially, the town of Smithfield was getting built up, and it made more sense to hold services in downtown as opposed to this older building. Some of our main differences is going to be our baptismal font right here.
Wow. Oh, that's
This
cool.
baptismal font wouldn't have been here in the 17th century. This was really added during our restoration process so that people can reflect on their own baptism when coming into the building.
Okay.
Kind of helps give an impression as to your own reflection and type of this old building.
Right.
We're known as the shrine, not only to the Episcopal religion, but also to the First Amendment right, and we're placed on the National Registry of Historic Places because of that.
Awesome, man.
And that happened in the 50s, so that's kind of the purpose as to this baptismal font.
Right.
The reason why we wouldn't have a baptismal font in the 17th century, where we're standing right here, would have been standing room only. So if you were a worker who did not own land, you would be standing here or on the second floor right above us. Here's our pulpit on the right. Behind the pulpit, we have 2 box seats. These 2 box seats are what we call our gentry boxes.
Okay.
The wealthiest patron would have sat here.
On the right side?
On the right side,
Okay.
closest to the pulpit.
Got you.
So whoever has the wealthiest land or the most amount of land, they would sit closest to the pulpit.
Okay.
Second wealthiest, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, so
it
on and
kind
so
of-
forth. And you'd go down in rank based off of your land value. We had a hole in the roof, roughly where we're standing right here.
Wow.
And this hole was just letting rainwater and all sorts of stuff come in.
Okay.
Essentially, the building was in ruins, all the glass was destroyed, so the community here in Isle of Wight and Smithfield came together in order to restore the building, as well as put up the money for the stained glass.
Oh my gosh, man, it's beautiful, man.
The second tier is your minister. The
Okay.
minister is reading scripture out of the King James Bible.
Okay.
Keep in mind the King James Bible was written, I want to say, a few years after the Jamestown colony was established.
Okay.
I want to say the Jamestown colony was established 1607, and the King James Bible was written like 1609.
Okay. Yes.
So, the history of the colony of Virginia really does fall in line quite well with the history of Anglican Christianity.
Okay.
But the minister would have been reading out of the King James Bible.
Okay.
That would have been the authorized Bible throughout England or the English colonies.
Gotcha.
So if you're in an area where you're speaking English, King James, it's going to be very known to anyone speaking the language at that time period.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And then that top tier, that is where the rector is going to be, and the rector is going to give a sermon based off of which scripture was read.
Okay. Got
Now,
you.
how do we decide which scripture is going to be read? The Anglican Church is structured in a very similar way to the Catholic Church.
Okay.
So above the rector, you have a bishop for your given diocese. Rector is the name of the priest who's in charge of the church. Bishop is in charge of a diocese, which the diocese is all the churches within a given state. It just, they use the term diocese instead of state. So the Diocese of Virginia is the same borders as the state of Virginia.
Okay.
However, Virginia doesn't have a bishop for its diocese because we don't have an educated population, and those who are educated in England can't survive the journey across the Atlantic.
Right.
So we don't get a bishop until James Madison, who's underneath St. Matthew.
Okay.
He comes around during the American Revolution.
Okay.
So this building's built roughly 1685. We have 90 years of a decentralized Anglican church until somebody comes around who can add some structure to how our church is going. So we've had 2 restorations in our life. The first one was in the 1890s.
Okay.
The second one was in the 1950s.
Okay.
This comes from our 1950 restoration. Essentially what has happened is they were unaware of how church services were conducted in the 17th century. So they were referring back to their own childhoods as to how church services were conducted.
Okay.
And so in their minds, they're thinking, where does the choir sit?
Oh, right,
So
right,
let's,
yep.
Let's place some choir boxes.
Okay.
In the 17th century, very similar to the Jamestown Church, if you remember.
Yeah, yeah.
The back wall would have extended throughout the entire back side of the wall.
Got you.
So these 2 boxes would have been there. This would have been extended all the way.
Just this part right here.
And
Okay.
so it would have gone all the way to the wall.
Wow.
And this is what we refer to as the chancel, or in the Anglican terms, the holiest part of the church.
Okay.
We have 2 people buried here.
Whoa.
This,
Really?
Yep. This would not be typical here in Virginia. However, in the Anglican tradition, this is very typical of people who have been knighted. Mr. Bridger is the man buried here. He was the main patron behind the church,
Okay.
so he provided most of the funds for this church.
Okay.
And then the woman buried next to him is Miss Anne Randall, which is his wife's aunt. The reason why his wife's aunt is buried here instead of his wife is because his wife's aunt was the matriarch on that side of the family.
Okay.
Mr.
Okay.
Bridger held the title. The Pitt family held the money. If
Okay.
that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is very typical of royal families, not just of this time, but even in modern sense.
Okay.
If you have a title, typically you aren't in an enterprise or business that is very wealthy. However, your family has done something for the king or the government to earn said title.
Okay.
So in order for you to maintain your title, you're going to marry or get in business with someone who does have wealth.
Wow.
In order to progress that.
This is crazy. Like everything is like, oof.
Very hard.
Yeah. Man, I'd be stressed out back then. Like,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
We're very lucky to
gosh.
be able to choose whatever we want to.
Yeah. That's wild. So I'm on the outside of the church. Had a great historical tour on the inside with Brendan. Really, really, really cool dude. Very knowledgeable. He didn't want to actually be on camera, so that's why when we were in the church, he was pretty much giving us the lowdown off camera, which I completely understand. Not everybody wants to be on camera, you know, and I respect that. And you know, he was awesome. He was absolutely amazing. Gave such a lot of insight on this church. And he did mention that this is the oldest grave here at St. Luke's. He also said there's over 800 bodies over here right now. Obviously, there's no gravestones for everyone, but he said they're out there. That's kind of creepy, but cool at the same time, I guess. That's a gorgeous church. Beautiful, man. It is so cold out here. And he said that they put this protective glass over the actual stained glass to prevent any vandalism. But he also mentioned that Smithfield is a very old part of Virginia with a lot of older folks. So there's not really, a high chance of anything getting vandalized around here, which is awesome. But still, gotta take precautions and protect this beautiful, beautiful church, man. So beautiful.